This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring former FBI Special Agent and Chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, Robin Dreeke.
Jennifer Crumbley and James Crumbley, her husband, facing 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter in connection with the school shooting, which was carried out by their then 15-year-old son, Ethan Crumbley. James Crumbley being tried in a separate trial in March. This really a potential for setting a precedent going forward and possibly even into the past of cases where children shoot up a school, take lives. How much influence, how much assistance, or lack thereof, did the parents play in those specific cases? We're looking specifically at Jennifer Crumbley right now, but the impacts could be far and wide-reaching. Robin Dreeke, retired FBI Special Agent, joining me to discuss. Where do you think this could possibly go, and what kind of effects, long-reaching tentacles on this thing down the road and into the past could it have if, in fact, a guilty verdict is reached?
I think it's good that we need to look at people in people's lives, especially when it comes to immediate family and people that have such close proximity to now convicted killers. You know, there are a lot of signs that unhealthy people give off, and this child was giving off a lot of them, and the parents knew about it. At least the mother did, because they have text messages, and I know we never have all of them until this case comes to bear, but there's a lot of text messages where she's worried. As I understand it, she was actually at the school that morning where the school is saying that they're worried about him having issues, and she buys a gun for him. I mean, at what point do you hold her culpable and for the behaviors? And so, yeah, I think it's extremely important. So on a sidetrack of this, people really in our society in the last bunch of years have kind of, not everyone, but if in a few cases, especially in like a case like this, has shuffled the responsibility of raising their children off on someone else, on a school system, on a daycare system, on something, and they want to wipe their hands of it. No. There's some responsibility here and accountability for the actions of your child. I know it's a far-fetched, far-flung, things images that pop in my mind. But as you know, I read a lot of books, and I love history. I love biographies. I actually, in the last year, I read the biography, a historical biography of Genghis Khan, believe it or not. And believe it or not, the legal system that he put into place was one that we use a lot of instances in today as well. And one of the things he actually had in place was a legal system where the family members, if you lived in a household, you're responsible for the behavior of the people in that household. If someone in your household that lived under that same roof went out and killed someone, everyone in that house was held accountable for that person. Now, I'm not saying that's 100% true and it's black and white like that, but I think in a case like this, there is definitely some responsibility that needs to be held accountable to the mother that provided the weapon, was knowingly aware of there's psychological issues going on with her son. So I think there definitely has to be culpability.
Is this something, obviously, I'm sure this mother didn't want her son to go shoot up the school. But if you're looking at the signs of, hey, your son may have the potential to do this, judging by his behavior, judging by the issues that the school already has with your son and not wanting him to even be there, was she way too close for comfort with her son, thinking that buying her son a gun was somehow a good idea? I mean, I just try to wrap your mind around this. Even if you have a healthy child that is mentally healthy, doesn't seem to have these sort of mental health issues that her son obviously had, I don't know that I'd be buying my 15-year-old a weapon, period. Just, I mean, I guess, why? Like, what is the purpose of doing that? Was she too close to really realize exactly the scope of what her son was capable of? Because, as parents, you don't want to think your kids could do something horrible. And sometimes I think it's very easy to ignore those warning signs while the rest of the world can sit there and go, oh my God, what's going on over here? If you're too close, and it's like almost like a pattern of abuse where you don't realize it until you're out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I don't know how that plays into it or doesn't. One of the other things that immediately popped in my mind when I first started looking at this case was Let's see where the evidence brings us on this one.
Yeah.
I really think that there's a lot of moving parts with this, with the relationships, because again, when the trial was going on, the extramarital affair that she was having, even on, I think it's insinuated, she was found with her guy that she's having the affair with on the day that her son shot up the school. There's a lot of odd things. When we talk about behavior arcs, we're seeing some data points for her kind of emerging that say, that's a little unhealthy behavior.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where the investigation is going to bring us.
And that's, I mean, you look at a home, chaotic behavior going on, unhealthy behavior being demonstrated in front of the kids. Obviously not a reason or an excuse for a child to go and carry out some sort of crime like this. But at the same point, it's, it will have effects on your children. It's just what is the line? If we do have this go through, if this does somehow set some sort of precedent going forward, what is the line that we look at with parents who have children who go and do this stuff? Is it you provided the weapon? That's the clear violation. Now you're accountable. Is it, there's these warning signs with your kids. You didn't do anything about it. But at the same point, I know parents. I remember growing up and having some distant cousins, really good home, really good parents. All the other kids in the house on good standing, but there was the one that, went off, did their own thing, was violent, ended up in jail, not at all seemingly a product of the rest of the environment that they were being brought up in. Just, as simple as can be stated, it's kind of a bad apple, not a reflection of the parents. So You have those situations where, look, they're trying to do everything they can, and resources too. Sometimes, what do you do? I mean, especially you're talking a 15 to 18-year-old. They're pretty much, in an adult body at that point in time, sort of physically dragging them to some sort of therapy that they don't want to participate in. There's not a lot that sometimes parents can do. Sometimes their hands are quite literally tied as far as what should be done. And I'm all about holding people accountable and parents responsible for dumb decisions and irresponsible parenting. But again, we go into a very gray area here if we start charging the parents. We need to have clear, defined bars here as to, okay, you did this out of ignorance or whatever you did. Yes, now you are accountable. But what are those bars and how do we apply them to every single case?
I completely agree with you. And I don't think this is going to get my gut feeling on this one. It's not going to reset a bar for parental culpability. And we're seeing other cases where it hasn't. I mean, just look at the Koberger case right now. No one's going at the parents on this one.
Yeah.
And I think because when you look at the data points that we get and the little leakage we have of the parental awareness, how much children were hiding or not hiding from their parents, I mean, we see a difference here. And the little data points we have in this case is the mother seemed very aware that there's an issue with her son. She seems to be self-centered in serving her own needs and kind of brushing off the issue she's having with her son. Again, from our limited data points, that's when I'm like, let's follow the evidence. I don't see this as a case about parents as much as I see it as a case of awareness and reasonable action based on that awareness. And so then I think that's what I'm getting from this one was like, hey, if you remove, so think about this, the thought experiment as we like to do, removed the fact that she's called his mother. She is a human being in his circle of life that has an awareness of an issue. I think what is being investigated now is how aware was she of an issue and how much did she support his actions by the actions she took? In other words, buying a gun, not taking appropriate action. So I think that's what they're really examining here as investigators is how much did she know and what would a reasonable person do with that knowledge?
Yeah.
And I think if you remove the parent side of it, that's what they're taking. At least that's the gut I'm getting on this one is it's not about her as a parent as much as it is about what did she know.
Sick of the ads?
We are too.
Start listening with no commercials now and get access to all of our episodes in advance of everyone else.
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
True Crime Today Premium Plus.
Sign up now.